Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Whenever you're watching the Dan K Show Power Rankings, welcome in. It is the final, that's it, final Power Rankings episode of the year. We are on the road in Oceanside, California. Because we're on the road, because we're traveling, because we don't have a lot of time to get this edited and out. It might be a little quicker episode than you're used to, but what I will warn you about before we start is in the Elite, our number one ranked team in this Power Rankings episode has won the national championship 100% of the time. In the Premier, we're 5 of 6. Last year's Rockets Hockey Club, the first ever non-number one ranked team to win the national championship. Today's a big one. Today's an important one. To my left-hand man, my consigliere, mon frere from another mare, and the man that just had a delicious sausage roll with myself at the O-Side Brewery before this one. Delicious dinner. We've had some tacos, some burritos, and now it's time to talk Power Rankings hockey. Lucas, what's going on?
Dan, it feels great to be welcomed in here. What a road trip. Obviously starting off with, a brief robbery in Denver.
Slight robbery. And by slight robbery, I mean everything that cost money that we owned.
But a great response. I mean, a great response from the hockey community. We did not expect it. We didn't expect the speed, the amount of generosity, but we cannot tell you how appreciative we are of it. From every single person who supported us either through kind words or through monetary donations, it truthfully helped us kind of fuel the rest of this trip. It was not looking good for a couple of minutes there, a couple of hours there, but we are here now on the back end of it, having just given out the Cali Cup out here in San Diego. We want the Cali Cup to be open to more teams next year. We'd love for every team in California to get involved after seeing the success in year one. But with all of that in the bag, Dan.
Yes.
We have some important stuff going on.
We have some important stuff, and we are talking Elite Power Rankings. We start at number 10. It is the Islanders Hockey Club. Lucas, this is a team right now. They fall at number 10. A couple losses to the Northern Cyclones, a really tough team that's been at number one a few times in our power rankings, but a team that's able to score the puck when needed. They play defense, and Gabriel Leduc is leading the way with 58 points.
I think for them, it's about balance, right? That's the big thing, right? It's being able to come up in big moments. Yes, you'd like to see a little bit more of the consistency feels like the wrong word.
Yeah.
But you'd like to see maybe a little bit more. But I'll tell you this. Nationals is where you see more, right? The playoffs and nationals is where you get that opportunity. So every time we say you feel like you need a little more, that is that moment.
Remember, IHC fell in a similar spot in our Elite Power Rankings last year, made a run to the semifinals. Nick Terrian, Logan Cavalcanti in net. They've got none other than Anthony Lacroix with a 2.31 and 9.23 saves percentage. This team is good. Let's go to number 9, the highest they have been all season. Coach Wags, our lifestyle correspondent, at number 9. A huge upset win over Northern is what put him here.
There is nothing like getting the 11 p.m. text from Wags with no information that says, "We dem boys."
We dem boys.
And you know what? I love that. Coach Wags goes above and beyond to promote these players, to get the vibes up, to make sure that people know what they're doing. They're out here getting great wins. I think that's the big thing, right? You have those opportunities. Very few opportunities throughout the season to make a statement, and the Rockets did.
John Crodell, 83 points on the year.
Absolutely
54
nuts.
assists, 29 goals. Louis David leading the way, a leader in that locker room, 49 points. Michael Grima in net is going to play a huge role against either Wilkes-Barre in the first round of these Elite playoffs, and the only round that's going to matter to get the Nationals, or depending on what the Aviators do against the Jersey Hitmen. Coach Wagenbach is going to have his work cut out for him the rest of the way. Let's go to number 8. The furthest they have fallen in 5 seasons in the Elite. The Charlotte Rush at number 8.
Well, the first thing I want to say, Dan, is it made me very uncomfortable when you used his full name, Coach Wagenbach. I truthfully for a second didn't know who you were talking about. But, we get now over to the Charlotte Rush, and it's been a weird month for Charlotte. Yeah. I think, we kind of talked about it a little bit, and I can't remember a month that, we can kind of say it freely here. I mean, as poor as this month for a Charlotte Rush organization at either level, right? And they're tough opponents. Richmond, Carolina, they're 0-4 in the month, but against two really good teams in a really tough division. But we know the Charlotte Rush. We know they hold themselves to a high standard. So a tough month for them.
0-4 in the month, 4-4, 1-1 in their last 10. This is a team that's kind of going into the postseason a little bit slower than they want to be rolling right now. And they have a tough Potomac side we will hear from later in these rankings. 13-3, 1-1. You know what? You're only as good as your netminder the next day, and Evan Crawford is that good. He could be a difference maker with a .932 saves percentage and sub-2 goals against average. Spencer Barrow, the man with a wheelbarrow full of goals. Yanni Satsoulis, Wesley Schweitzer, Ben Pearson, Jack Lamont, Wilder Outman. This team has the ability, has the depth, has the skill. Will they get it done come postseason time? This might be a nice little wake-up call for the boys from Charlotte. Let's go to number 7. The Richmond Generals just in front of the Rush. They just beat them twice. That's why they're ranked ahead of them.
Yeah, basically when you talk about the Rush giving up some games, the teams that end up beating them end up getting a little bit of a boost, right? And we know how good the Southeast is. We know that they kind of play really, really tough here. And the Richmond Generals, once again, have put together a good roster heading into Nationals.
Wesley Wilding, where the Wildings are, is usually in the back of the net scoring goals. 23-23, a perfectly even season for him. 46 points. Brady Kangas, Owen Cross. This Richmond Generals team, Ethan Carlone, they might be sitting right now as a 4 seed going in the elite playoffs, having to play Carolina. But I would not want anything to do with playing the Generals right now. Let's go to number 6. The highest they have been this season, a team used to national success in the elite, the Tampa Bay Juniors and Coach Stroh.
The Tampa Bay Juniors 8-2, 0-0 in their last 10. When you talk about a what have you done for me lately style of power rankings, that's a record that'll get you noticed. They have wins against some good opponents, including 2 against the Mad Hatters. You like to see the consistency from the boys in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Ari Blatt, Robert Sheets, Brendan Sickles, Daniel Cullen, that's all great. But Dylan Bruce and Jonathan Jensen, a bit of a difference maker for them in net. The ability to go right hand, left hand with 2 netminders. Tampa can get a deep run and keep their netminders fresh. That's important. This team will be difficult to handle. Number 5. The lowest they have fallen this season in the power rankings. Coach Tim Plummer and his Northern Cyclones at number 5. A bit of a up and down month in February.
Yeah, it's been a tough month for a lot of teams that were kind of sitting at or near the top. There's been a lot of really good hockey, and I think the big thing that we're seeing year in and year out now is that there are top teams coming into February, and the rest of the teams load up. They know they have to load up to be really competitive. And I think the Northern Cyclones here, 7-3-0 in their last 10, but a couple of tough losses, including Wilkes-Barre, the Rockets, the Junior Bandits, all good teams, but still you don't want to see losses on the card.
2 good wins against IHC, 2 good wins against the Picks, 2 good wins against the Bruins, a good win against the Aviators. Wilkes-Barre got to them. The Rockets got to them. That put them at number 9. And my boys with the Bridgewater Junior Bandits, the Trash Pandas got a big one. I'm still not counting the Trash Pandas out from an upset run to Natties. Maximilian Pierce still continues to be the difference for Northern. 1.92 goals against, 936 saves, 18-4 on the season between the pipes for him. Let's go to number 4. Again, we're sorry we're going a little quicker this week, but Lucas has a lot of editing to do and not a lot of time to do it while we're traveling across the country right now, getting ready for the postseason. Number 4, the Florida Eels. They've been at number 4, seems like all season long.
This is kind of where they've settled into a good spot, right? I mean, you look at the opponents they beat. They continue to play some good teams here as well. And they have 4 wins against the Infantry. They have some wins against the Blades, the Typhoon, even the Tampa Bay Juniors in the mix. But you just feel like they're a team that's waiting for their moment. And we talked about with IHC, that moment could be the playoffs, could be Nationals, right? So you look at a team sitting at number 4, I think they could be a breakout squad.
Big Cheese, Lorenzo Marchetta, 28 goals, 40 assists, 68 points for him, 12 points on the power play. Adamo Duray, Alexander Klingerman, Joachim Chermak, like Valpeter, Bailey Kaiser. This team doesn't stop. They'll come at you, 4 lines banging each and every day. The blue line can get the job done. The netminders can play the role. Florida going to be tough to deal with as well. Let's go to number 3. We're starting to remember 6 for 6 in the elite. Every time we've put a team number 1, they have won the national championship. This is a team All top three, I had at number one at some point in my rankings.
Yep.
It's been hard to pick the number one for me. I don't think it was as hard for Lucas, and
No.
that's how we ended up here. But number three, the Potomac Patriots. Coach Gratz, baby.
Yeah, Potomac, I mean, this feels like an arrival all season long. They have really put themselves on this huge stage and continue to succeed. They recruit well. They're making some good connections for next year with the future NCDC West. You love to see that as well. A team that is committed to development, not just in Potomac, but across the country. They've got a great pipeline of European players. And I really feel like they have a lot of roster depth.
Yeah, Zoran Varga, David Sesme. You look at Georgievich, Hanna, Whalen, Bessedin. This team is so good. They score in bunches. They've got a lot of depth in scoring. They go down to number 16 on the list here, all with double-digit points. Cooper James with 12 points is a defenseman right there. In net, Caven does enough there with a .931 saves percentage. Potomac is going to be a team you do not want to see come Natty's time, but they still got to get through Charlotte. They got to get through Charlotte.
Yep.
That's going to be a tough series. That might be the series of a lifetime in the Elite. That might be one of the best three-game series in the history of the USPHL Elite, and one of the toughest ones. Amazing one of those teams won't be making a trip to Nationals there. Let's go to number two. This is where we started to battle a little bit. Number two, though, the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights. Hear me out for a second. Let me
Sure.
talk. Let me cook.
The floor is yours.
38-3-2-0. That's 78 points. That's almost 30 points. That's over 30 points more than the next place team in the division. 253 goals for, most. 103 goals against, one of the best. 23-0-1-0 in their last 24 games played. They're on a 24-game point streak entering the end of the season.
They have done everything they've been asked to do and more, right? They're beating good teams inside the division. They're beating good teams outside the division. And I think what that means for them is that they're well-traveled, they're well-prepared. And that level of consistency of points in your last 24 games, I think showcases a team that doesn't hit the doldrums, right? That doesn't hit these low points in the season. When you get a team that's like that, it's really tough to exploit them. There's not really a mental aspect. There's not really a way to say we can take it to them, because they are just mentally ready to rock at any given moment against any given squad.
Dylan Bowen with a .933 saves percentage. Eric McHale, Brody Bass, Jason DiMatteo. But Eric McHale with 75 points, 50 assisters, man. This guy's the helping hand. Jared Schoen with 42 points this year. Maverick Rudolph, Jonathan Morgan, Jason DiMatteo. Watch out for Wilkes-Barre. Let's go to number one. And if you're paying attention to USPHL Elite Hockey, you've been paying attention to this team all season long. The Carolina Junior Hurricanes. Lucas, I think you have a statement about them.
The Carolina Junior Hurricanes are, I think, to my eye, potentially the best elite team ever built.
Yep.
And that includes the Charlotte Rush elite team when they double-dipped and became champions. I think the Carolina Junior Hurricanes are the most complete team, the deepest team. They have the best defense. They have 76 goals for. Listen, I don't care how many goals you score. In the regular season, if you want to score 300 goals, that's fine. But you go up against a team that's averaging less than 2 goals a game given up, no way. That's impossible. I know I'm a defense guy. I know I'm biased for defense. But to my eye, and I will not apologize for coming out as strongly as I do
You don't need to apologize. No need to apologize.
I mean, I'm not going to.
I mean, no one's mad at you.
I was never going to, just so you know.
Go ahead.
Just so you know.
Well, now I feel like you need to apologize.
I mean, okay. No, I will not. I will not be tricked into apologizing. The Carolina Junior Canes are the best elite team ever built. They are winning a national championship.
Jacob Sanders, the Colonel. Pavel Matuinin, 26 wins combined, only 5 losses combined. 157 goals against for Sanders, 190 for Matuinin. 932 saves percentage Matuinin. 933 for Sanders. They both have 3 shutouts. It's stupid right now. Both guys with over 300 saves. Sanders with 319, Matuinin with 410. They see shots, they stop shots. You go to the ice. Braden Strong, Jacob Gifford, Nathan Rhodes, Tristan Sine, Colby Markham, Carter Radasta. It just, the hits keep coming. This team right now, you got to prove to me that they're not the best in the country. the craziest thing, they're going to play Richmond.
Yeah.
They're going to play Richmond.
They got to play Richmond.
They might not get by Richmond.
Yeah.
I think Richmond, we all know what Richmond dealt with at the start of the year for watching. They dealt with injuries. Their best guys were hurt, right? So this team has battled. Coach Like has had a tough job with this elite team this year, keeping them in it, getting the boys going, keeping them healthy. And now they're getting healthier. They're getting back to normal at the Richmond Elite. Don't be surprised if Richmond knocks out Carolina, a team that Lucas just called the best team in the history of the Elite. That's it. That's your top 10 in the USPHL Elite. And if Carolina wins again, we go 7 for 7 lifetime.
Yep.
We have never, ever lost at this level of it. That's your top 10. The Carolina Junior Hurricanes at number 1. The Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights at 2. Potomac at 3. The Florida Eels at 4. Northern Cyclones at 5. Tampa Bay Juniors 6. Richmond Generals, Charlotte Rush, Rockets Hockey Club, and the Islanders Hockey Club round out that top 10. We'll take a quick breather, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back with your premier top 20 after this.
The Dan K Show would like to thank all of our incredible sponsors, including our presenting sponsor, the Pueblo Bulls. For more information, go to www.dankshow.com and visit us at @_Dan K Show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
We're back, hockey fans. The premier power rankings coming at you now. This time, we look at a power ranking where number 1 has always been right until last year. Will that trend continue, or will we get back to our winning ways? We will find out at the end of this one. We're going to have to go quick through these. Again, Lucas has a lot of editing, a very little amount of time. We got flights to catch. We're on the wrong side of the country right now. Right side if you want to play some great hockey in San Diego.
Absolutely.
But compared to where we live, the wrong side.
It has been a wild experience, both seeing how great the competition, the teams, the organizations here in California, but also having to deal with the fact that by the time you wake up around 8 a.m., the East Coast has already been working for 3 hours. I have no idea how y'all do this. How you wake up and you're already behind the 8 ball.
I will start at number 20. We're not going to get behind the 8 ball here. We put this team in the prove-it spot last month, and oh boy did they. 8-2-0-0 in their last 10. The Potato Zaddies. The Spud Kings, still at number 20. We're keeping them there.
I really think they belong in this top 20. I mean, you look at what the Spud Kings have done since the beginning of the season. We talk to a lot of players around the country. When we go to these spots, we're not just talking to coaches, we're talking to players. We're finding out the pulse of the league from these guys. And a lot of guys that we've talked to really like what the Spud Kings have done. They like the roster. They feel like it's filled with a lot of really good players. They like the direction the team is going. And I got to be honest, you keep watching this team go over 500, and you feel more inspired every time it happens. It's just been fun to watch.
George Goodwin, man, 52 points. Justin Davis, Sean LeCompte. This team is the real deal. They're going to deal with the Northern Colorado Eagles, who they just took 2 of 3 from before the end of this season. They're on the road playing NoCo. Best of luck to the Spud Kings. They're at number 20. Number 19, we just watched this team in person. They've stayed in the top 20 almost all season long. The Fort Wayne Spacemen. Outside of 2 losses to Motor City, this team has been nearly untouchable with Noah Mann at the helm.
They have been, and getting a chance to watch a team in person is always so much fun, right? Because you get to watch them kind of go to work, and Noah Mann is an absolute magician with the puck.
So good.
There are plays that even as a broadcaster, when you're kind of watching and all of a sudden you react to it, shows you how good they are. But they're a deep team too. I mean, they've got really good players, kind of up and down. Kyle Remo's another one. They've got some depth, they've got a ton of skill, and they play physical, and they play fast.
And Dunnigan and Zinchenko and net, a great pair, great tandem. Maine with 76 points, skating as a centerman, can play the defense for college coaches out there looking for their next guy. Sam Tetro with 55, Logan Robbins, 75 different flavors of goal scoring from Robbins there. Remo, Koryachin, like Turgeon, Perry, Rollman, Fournier. This team is unbeatable unless you're number 18. For the first time in franchise history, the most buff Lion I have ever seen
uncomfortably buff
makes an appearance in the top 20, the Motor City Gamblers. And yes, I'm gonna be honest.
Be honest.
Real bad take calling themselves the Michigan Champions. Bad take. That's a tough take, boys.
Tough take.
I love Sam Shaheen and Jason McCrimmon more than most. really tough take, boys. I hope you do not run into the Metro Jets at any point. But Motor City Gamblers, number 18.
You know what though? This is I do like it for this reason, right? Because the Gamblers, they came into the season with the rebrand, right? They came in with some
The
new
most
coaching
ripped tiger lion you will ever see. Tony
new,
the Tiger, if he only did crunches.
but they come in with a lot of good talent. We saw them in the beginning of the season. I feel like they've done nothing but improve this team. And you know what? You look at the record, and they're beating a ton of good teams out here. They are really proving themselves with this new model, this new coaching staff as well. And they are full of really, really tough guys. I think the biggest thing for me, 2 top scorers are defensemen.
Yeah, and Jaden Kachuk, grabbing him from the Charlotte Rush earlier this year, the former Dells Duck. You look at Sean Zatelli, Aiden Kennedy, and Jake Mullins. It's all from the blue line.
Yep.
They do their biggest damage from the blue line. You add Van Voorhis in there, who they got from Provo. Motor City, best of luck dealing with these guys. I think they're going to Natties. I think they're going to make their way to Natties. I think we're going to see them in Utica. And I'm looking forward to seeing Sam Shaheen out there with his Motor City Gamblers, proving himself, proving that he is the Michigan champion when he potentially gets matched up with Metro at some point at Nationals. Let's go to number 17. Their first time punching a ticket to the top 20. We keep saying prove it, prove it, prove it. And they keep proving it, proving it, proving it. The Atlanta Mad Hatters, the 2 seed in the Florida division.
This is another team that continues to improve, right? I think that's the biggest thing is the team that you start with, the team that you're in October, November. We all know that those teams are not the same teams that kind of show up when you get to the end of the season and the playoffs. And I feel like this is a team that has really good offense and some good net minding that works well for the team, some net minding that is exactly what you need there. And I think overall the Mad Hatters are tough.
I think net minding, I'm on the opposite side of it. I think Patrick Colburn and Byron Bayer, when they're great, they're great, and I think it's going to come down to them. I think it's going to be up to Patrick Colburn or Byron Bayer, who's going to be the guy who's going to take control and who's going to win a series in a tough matchup of the Tampa Bay Juniors side at the Florida Divisional Playoffs. That's going to be a tough one. Ben Baker, the goalmaker, Owen Larson, Logan Gallagher, Ian Rager. This team has everything it takes to win. Just got to see it happen now. We'll see if we see Atlanta at Nationals in Utica. Let's go to number 16. This team's fallen a bit this past month. A tough one for the boys from Northern at 16. Bill Dubs still getting dubs. I still expect this team to be at Nationals. Right now at 36-7, 1-0. They had losses this past month to IHC, to South Shore, Metro, wins against the Picks in a shootout, Vantage, Twin City twice, Utica, Wilkes-Barre, Hershey, and the Bruins.
Yeah, I think it's a difference between obviously looking at their last 10, they're 8-2-0-0 in their last 10, right? But you lose to a couple of teams that are kind of in the mix here, and even though you're losing to some top 20 teams, it's still games that for Northern you expect a team like that to come through with. I don't worry about Northern in this spot, though. I think it's one of those things where they play in a tough spot. They put themselves up against tough competition, and now they have to learn from it and get ready for the next phase.
Yeah, it's my wake-up moment of the day, right? We're trying to wake up the Cyclones right now. Roll Clones, Billy Doherty, Justin Tremblay, Scotty Swain, Benjamin Orgel, Adam Scarta. This team, they have what it takes, and in net, they have 2 guys that haven't allowed more than 2 goals a game this year in Mason Meyer and Jeffrey Fillion. Tough to fill the nets against Fillion. Meyer, my goalie, has a first name. It's Meyer for sure. Number 15, the highest they have climbed as a franchise, the Squatch.
Yeah, the Squatch.
Squatch out.
They're another team that just continues to impress, right? I mean, you look at the teams they beat. They've beaten the Havoc. They've beaten Isani, the Blue Ox, right? And they've lost one to the Havoc. They've lost one to the Moose, but it's a shootout loss, so you don't really count that. And I just think that the Squatch have all the pieces, regardless of what happens. It's another team where, much like we often talk about the Florida Eels, we have a lot of roster confidence.
We will be making predictions for the postseason throughout. I'm going to make one now before we start doing it. Squatch are going to get upset by the Moose. Bro Bronison might not be in the top 20.
Really?
But I think Bro Bronison upsets the Squatch, and I think you see the Havoc and the Minnesota Moose at Nationals. And I'm going to make one more prediction.
This is all new for me as well. I'm learning along with you.
Don't be surprised if the River Kings and Paul Peckman upset Hudson.
Wow.
Don't be surprised.
Interesting.
Don't be surprised.
You know, Nick, you leave it to Dan K to turn a good moment for the Squatch and just flip it up on its head.
I'm
you know
just
what,
saying
though?
they're really good. They got a lot of depth. They score a lot of goals. But
this
you got
is
to
what
play
Dan
defense.
does.
Got to play defense. You got to stay out of the box. We talk about it. You got to stay out of the box. You got to play defense. At times, the Squatch have been a little lackadaisical on the defensive end, and at times they've gone to the box a bunch. And if you take too many PIMs, if you win the PIMS Cup in the postseason, you usually don't raise the cup. So I want to be proven wrong. Let this be the hashtag Dan K Bum. Squatch fans, make sure you hashtag Squatch out Dan K. Squatch out Dan K. You are wrong. Can be the hashtag. That's a long hashtag.
Long hashtag.
Shorten
Don't
it
use
if
that.
you need to. Shorten it if needed. Number 14, the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights.
Again, Wilkes-Barre is just incredibly consistent at the elite and premier level, you know, and you like to see a team that can be consistent. That's always a good thing that you want to see out of it. But again, I think we need to see them be consistently challenged, I think, right? They've got wins against some good squads, including the Rockets, IHC, the Picks, Potomac, but then you split with the Rockets, right? And then you lose to the Cyclones. So I want to see them at Nationals. That's what I want to see.
This is one of those moments where, like, the Cyclones will look and say, hey, we beat Wilkes-Barre head-to-head. Like, how are we behind them? And it's more about kind of the wins. That IHC win's pretty. That Potomac win is pretty.
Very pretty.
That Rockets win's pretty. The Bruins win's pretty. The CJR win's pretty. They're tough this year. The Picks win's pretty. They had a lot of really good wins on the resume. A lot of tough schedule on the resume. I like what they look like right now. Wilkes-Barre at number 14. Let's go to 13. Team that beat them once out of two. The Rockets Hockey Club. They're climbing yet again late in the season.
Yeah, it's what the Rockets do, right? They get better, they improve, and as good as they are kind of in the beginning of the year, they always seem to be a little bit better by the end of it. It's a tough squad. It's gritty, right? It's very much a team that is going to outwork you. When they beat you, it's because they outwork you, and they've got a lot of natural leaders on that team. A lot of 0-2s leading the way right now, but an 0-3 on the top of the scoring chart.
Yeah, the Quigleys have been big for him. Yakov, Yaxon, Spencer Hecklinger, former Dell's Duck right there with 39 points. Eric Hagee, Alex Zizelka. This team is really, really good. Carson Fry, 12-4-2-1. A 2.44 goals against and a 9.22 saves percentage. The Rockets Hockey Club are back, and they're running again. They're trying to get another national title. Will the killer kill the competition and get that win? We will see. Coach Kilcoyne on the job. 12, Islanders Hockey Club. This is a team that they might be behind the Northern Cyclones in the standings, but it was a pretty stellar month for IHC. Let's take a look at that month as I scroll down to it. 32-8-3-1 on the year with 68 points. They've only allowed 90 goals against. They've scored 194. They beat Northern. They beat the Advantage, the Bandits twice, the Bruins, Twin City, Hershey, MJDP, New Hampshire, South Shore. Only losses coming in OT. Both were OTLs. So we kind of half count those, right? And they were both against top 20 teams. We'll talk about the Aviators in a bit, who won the division over the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights. And the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights, both OT losses.
Yeah, I mean, it's classic IHC, right? They don't always have the highest goal total, but they will usually have a pretty good goals against total. And I think for me, that adds a lot of value to this team. I think that makes them very competitive when you talk about a playoff run, when you talk about a potential Nationals berth. I always believe that good defense will beat good offense any day of the week. And IHC, it just feels like every year, Dan, they continue to build good net minding, they continue to build good defense, and then they put forwards who can score on top of it.
Ian Badgett in net, Stellar, Jesper Seberg, Jack Roberts, Brady Carpenter, Tristan Swiger, Daniel Woodford. There's no need for reserves on this team when you got a guy like Woodford. That guy's that good. Number 11, Islanders Hockey Club, a 14-game point streak. How about a 9-game win streak for the Fresno Monsters?
Yeah, Fresno's just continued to perform. I think they're a very strong team. You know, you talk to some people out here in the Pacific Division where we currently are, and we've talked to a few, and you know, to them, I think Fresno is just a very deep squad. That's been the biggest thing for them, is they always seem to have another line that can run, another line that can, you know, really put the hurt on you. They can mismatch, they control things, and you know what? They just find a way to win.
Yeah, Yuri Stalev is a huge addition out of Long Beach Shredders organization there. Kelly Coldwater, Christopher Moraldo, 113 points for Moraldo, only behind Alex Rene Bartkovics of the Vernal Oilers. Fresno, they're going to play San Diego in the first round. They got to win 2 series to get the Nationals. They've been there every year since the Pacific joined the USPHL Premier. I wouldn't be surprised to see them again. Let's get to the top 10. Number 10, this team has Utah's number, but they seem to rise to the competition and sometimes sink as well. The Ogden Mustangs, up and down, Jekyll and Hyde. Who will we see come playoff time?
That's the big thing,
That
right?
sounded cool.
That sounded pretty cool. I wasn't going to draw attention to it. I was just going to let it be cool. But you know, you got to do your thing.
Yeah, see you later.
I think that Ogden is exactly how you described, Dan. It's a matter of which team is going to be there, right? Is it going to be the team that rises to the occasion? Is it going to be the team that can generate offense from everywhere, that can play physically, that can shut down opponents, or is it going to be the team that is a little leaky in neutral ice, right? We've seen that a couple of times before.
Yep.
They're going to have to make that decision.
Got to be careful on the puck. Jake Murray, congratulations, the all-time point leader in USPHL Premier history. That is absolutely incredible. This guy's name is going to be etched on the walls of that building till the end of time. Jake Murray, one of my favorite players to watch in the country, one of the most underrated players in the country. This guy's going up to college up there in northern New York, and he might just be going to nationals up there in northern New York as well. Number 9, the Metro Jets, a team that might be upset with our number 18 team, the Motor City Gamblers, calling themselves the Kings of Michigan.
Yeah, Metro Jets might have a little something to say about that. For the Motor City Gamblers, if you see the shadow of Jamie Lovell's abs in the mirror after 2 a.m., that's because Metro is a little upset with you. But I think it's only because Metro has a really good track record, right? And they recruit year after year. They do such a good job, especially with net minding. They inspire a lot of effort, a lot of confidence on the part of the boys. And they've got one of my favorites in the game right now, one of my absolute favorites to watch, to talk to interact with, Dakota Cott, right defenseman, 48 points on the season.
Dakota Cott is, I think, the best defenseman in the country. He's a guy who, if I'm starting a college roster right now, I'm bringing him in, no questions asked. Fluteau, Natzel, Schomburger, but in net, it's Stoles and it's Soderberg, both with a 9.3 plus in save percentage. This team can do it in every way. They can beat you in a high-scoring affair. They can beat you in a close one. They beat tough competition. They play up to competition every single time. Watch out for Metro. Number 8, this team is climbing back up again. The Richmond Generals, they continue to take care of Charlotte this season. They continue to be tough to deal with. They're number 8, and it's solely because, 5-5, 0-0 in the last 10. The 500 record, they don't run away with it. That's their problem. And we get chirped every month by Richmond. We beat Charlotte. How are we behind them? You got to beat the other guys, too. Richmond 5-5, 0-0 in their last 10. But this team, do not be surprised if the Richmond Generals make a natty run.
You know, Dan, as we sit kind of in this hotel room near the Pacific Ocean, I'm reminded, of course, of the saltiest place on earth is actually the stands in Richmond.
Sometimes, yes.
But we do love the interaction we get from the Richmond fans. We really do love you. Just so passionate, so involved. And it mirrors the team, right? It mirrors a team that is so passionate every single week, every single game. It has been a long road back because of injuries, but we've said it all season long. When Richmond gets healthy, watch out.
Jaden Lee and Lenny Perno, the goaltending inferno, so good net. McCandless, McCabe, Hall, Hamacher, Matthews, Sawyer, Goody, Petit, Williams, Hofteaser. It doesn't end. Richmond, you got to watch out for that 8 seed right there. At number 7, this team's falling back, and I just kind of brought up some stuff that I said that the River Kings can beat them. It's the Hudson Havoc.
The Havoc have had a good roster all season. It's kind of, you almost don't notice it, right? Unless you're kind of looking week to week, month to month about how every once in a while lately they're just kind of dropping a weird game that you don't expect them to drop, right? And of course, Dan Kay has never really supported the Hudson Havoc, which has been obvious by his comments.
What?
Previously, just about 5 minutes ago. But as someone who does enjoy watching Havoc hockey and does support the boys, I think they do deserve the 7th spot. I just think that most divisions are a toss-up this year.
Yeah, I think this Hudson Havoc team, they're going to be a tough team to handle come Natty's time. A team that will serve as the 1 seed in the Midwest West if they do make it through, which right now chalk would say that they would. Watch out for the Havoc. Number 6 This is the Charlotte Rush, and this is more of a full season number 6 than it is of late because they have struggled of late. An uncharacteristic month of February for Charlotte in both the Premier and the Elite. In the Elite in February, 0 wins. In the Premier in February, 0 wins. They lost 2 to Richmond, 2 to Carolina. They're 5-3-0-2 in their last 10. They've got 204 goals for, 101 goals against. They're 32-7-1-3 with 68 points. Yes, they're 4 points ahead of Potomac for first. Yes, they're 9 points ahead of Richmond for third. But you worry about a team that didn't win a game in an entire month going into a big postseason series against Carolina.
Yeah, it's been weird. I think as we were doing our research, I kind of said I don't remember a month this tough for the Charlotte organization.
Ever.
But I will say this, is even after a tough month, you're still looking at nearly a 2-1 goals for, goals against. You're looking at one of the best defenses in the Southeast. Despite the struggles in the win-loss column, the games themselves have not been any sort of alarm bell ringing. So I think for them, you look again. I know we use the Florida Eels as the gold standard for the roster confidence debate, but I think that it does hold some water in the sense of the roster's there, the pieces are there. They need to put them together.
Who's going to step up? Who's going to be the guy? We'll find out. Charlotte at number 6. At number 5, the highest they have climbed this season, the New York Aviators. This team, you talk about hearing from other players, you hear from coaches. We've heard a lot of good things about New York. This is a team that is 38-5-1 to end the season, number 1 in the Mid-Atlantic. Last time a team that was really good in the Mid-Atlantic existed, they were the Rockets Hockey Club and they won a title. So will the Mid-Atlantic repeat, and will the Aviators be that squad?
Yeah, they're just so good. They're just so good, right? The more you look at the numbers, the more you look at the games, the more you watch them. They're just fun to watch. They're incredible. They're the definition of high-flying team. And I will tell you this: if there's a 5-on-3, we know the Aviators like to sometimes throw that 6th man out there and pull the goalie. I want to see 6 forwards. I want to see 6 forwards on the ice on a 6-on-3, no holds barred, steel cage match. Get the boys out there, get them running, get them gunning. The Aviators are a really tough team.
On an 8-game win streak, they beat Elmira 4 times, the Bruins, IHC, the Advantage, South Shore. Only loss was the Rockets Hockey Club, who we have in the top 20 here. Team that won the national championship last year. They're 9-1-0 in their last 10. The big number for them, you're used to seeing them give up around 160 to 180. Only allowed 120 this year, and they scored 267. When they play defense, good luck. Good luck, because they're going to score. They're going to score against everybody. It's just whether or not they stop the puck, and they've done it in bunches this year. At number 4, this team's at number 3 in the Elite, and number 4 in the Premier. Remember Grandpa's Potomac Patriots? They used to struggle. They used to lose games. Not anymore, baby. The Potomac Patriots are the top team in our power rankings out of this division right now. I think Potomac is punching and taking the Natties, and I think out of the Southeast teams, if I had to pick one that I think is going to raise the title this year, Potomac would be first on my list.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that, right? I mean, the Patriots this season have really kind of shown up in a lot of ways. I think the biggest way that they've shown up kind of for me here is the way that they're able to just consistently be up by 2 goals at any given point, right?
Yep.
If the way we talked about the Richmond Generals in previous years, where if they got up by 2, you've already lost the game, I feel like now we can talk about the Patriots in the same way. If they get up by 2 goals, they're just, even if you score 3, they're going to score 7, right? That's just the way they've been all year.
Yeah, and you look at Potomac, they got a win against Richmond, 2 wins against Hampton, 1 loss against Richmond, and a loss against Wilkes-Barre that was on the road. So like Richmond, like we lose games in the Southeast, that's going to happen. Teams are going to beat each other in the Southeast, we're aware of that. With Wilkes-Barre, it's a loss, but it was on the road. It was the last game of the season. It didn't affect the standings. Kind of tough to go into that one and expect both of those teams. Wilkes-Barre has already kind of solidified where they were. Potomac where they were. It's kind of more of an exhibition than it is a regular season game to me. That's number 4, the Potomac Patriots. At number 3, the Toledo Cherokee. Holy Toledo. This team. How about Brendan Cobb, though? Let's talk Brendan Cobb of Columbus real quick. The Columbus Mavericks, Brendan Cobb, saved about 9 zillion shots and only lost 1-0 because of a penalty shot against Toledo. What a performance for Brendan Cobb. If you are a college coach looking for a netminder that makes more ridiculous saves than anybody I've ever seen, it is Brendan Cobb. This guy is good. It's corn, a big lump of knobs, it has the juice. Instead, it's Cobb, a big netminder with the ability to save every puck. and he brings the juice to the team, man. He really fires your squad up.
Yeah, I mean Cobb coming over to the Mavericks from Worcester. I mean they have a good netminder in Cobb, and I think we can talk about how good he is because of how good Toledo has been. Their offense has been consistently one of the top rated in the entire league. They've been with the top team a couple of times, right? And unfortunately, when you're at the top, there's only one way to go, and it can be the smallest of slips that knocks you down. But I don't think that's an indication of a trend here. I just think it's what have you done for me lately? A couple of the teams have been a little bit better, but I think in terms of scary group of guys, in terms of guys who are just big, and they're willing to hit you, they're willing to score on you, and they do it with a little flourish. You could do a lot worse than Toledo.
Nicholas Milhorn rings the goal horn. Jason Crossland, Jacob Slater, Cameron Reel, and you talk about how good Brendan Cobb is. How about Frank Murphy? 25-4-0, 182 goals against, and 927 saves. Most confident netminder in the country, maybe one of the most confident netminders I've ever met at this level of the game. The guy just trusts what he's doing, trusts his game. He's that good. He's a national championship winner right there. At number 2, this is where it gets big. Again, 5 of 6 all time at selecting the number 1 team as the national champion in our final power rankings. Number 2 is Utah, the first runner-up for that spot.
Utah is kind of the real deal. We've watched them in person. We've watched them on Hockey TV. And what you get from Utah, I think, are obviously incredible netminding. But you also get a physicality, kind of this like raw strength, size physicality that is so dangerous, especially when you talk about these guys who are physical, these guys who are big and have size. They're also your skill guys, right? There is no you're you and you're you. Everybody is big and physical and fast and skilled. They're all scoring. There's really no weak spots there.
Yeah, Will Cohen is more skilled than most, and he is just watching him in person again, man. You've got to be looking at him if you're a college scout. You talk about just the depth on this team, the stuff that they can accomplish as a group. You talk about Kale Delzer, the Bull Delzer, Miles McHugh. You look in net, and they've got a zillion netminders that can stop the puck, and Felchetti, and Dickey, and Latte, and Pigeon. There's so much talent in Utah. This team's only gotten better. Got to watch out. Got to be careful. The outliers at number 2. That means number 1. And when we put a team at number 1 at this time of the year, it means that we think they are the front runner to raise a trophy. For the first time all season, the Florida Eels at number 1. All season long, we've talked about the ability, the depth, the netminding, Duncan Rollman and Tobias Bell between the pipes. You talk about Easton Moore, Colin Patterson, Liam Hennessy, Maverick Krupe, Jacob Gobu, Noah Trathen, Jared Salmonen, Damon Kiwasu, Kyle Zamba. You talk about Budgel, Bozovi, Shepard, Zebley, Goddard, Phillips, Maltese, Hambling. It just never, ever ends. And then you add Chase Wainman onto the bunch from Carolina at the blue line. Good stinking luck stopping the Florida Eels right now.
You know, I made a lot of comparisons to the Florida Eels in terms of roster confidence. I made about 3 or 4 of them, and I think that indicates just how good I think the Florida Eels are. I mean, Braden Bozovi is the 11th top scorer on the team, and he's my favorite player to watch on that squad, right? I think he's a defenseman who really injects a lot of life into this team. He's a guy that if you're feeling a little flat, you can throw him out there and he'll get the boys going. And you have so much depth. You're battle tested in a Florida division and Southeast division, you know, with the proximity there. And I think it's a Florida Eels team that on top of all the depth, on top of everything they bring to the table, they thought that last year might have been the year. Do not underestimate the revenge tour, because that adds quite a bit of fuel to the fire. They've got returners. Obviously, Frankie Scarpacci wanted last year to be the year. How about this year being the year?
14 consecutive wins to close out the season. 36, 6-1-1, 74 points. Watch out for Florida. This Eels team is unstoppable. They didn't lose in February. That's it. Number 1, the Florida Eels. Number 2, the Utah Outliers. 3, Toledo Cherokee. 4, the Potomac Patriots. 5, the Aviators. 6, the Charlotte Rush. 7, the Hudson Havoc. 8, the Richmond Generals. 9, the Metro Jets. 10, the Ogden Mustangs. Number 11, the Fresno Monsters. Number 12, the Islanders Hockey Club. Number 13, the Rockets Hockey Club. Number 14, the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights. Number 15, Minnesota Squash. Number 16, Northern Cyclones. Number 17, Atlanta Mad Hatters. Number 18, the Motor City Gamblers. Number 19, Florida Wayne. And number 20, the Idaho Falls Spud Kings. That's it. That's your top 20. For you teams out there, for you players right now, for you guys who might not be happy with your ranking in these power rankings, do not let it get to you. Do not let it get in your head. Let it drive you. Let it fuel you. I talked to a few folks throughout this past week, guys getting ready for the postseason. There are guys out there whose seasons have come to an end. Look at this Nashville Spartans team. What a job in Smashville they did in their first season. A huge congratulations to that organization, to Mr. Tuggle and the whole crew there, and all the hard work put in, doing it right in Nashville. They just got beaten out at the end of this season. If you were a team lucky enough to be in the postseason, whether you're the 1 seed or the 15 or the 900 seed, you are still alive. You are still playing hockey. It still matters. Don't lose. Be that cockroach. Even in that nuclear blast, you're still the thing up, alive, and kicking. Battle through it. Fight through it. Be unwilling to give in. Relentless is the word come postseason time. We hope to see you all in Utica, New York. Once our first playoff game starts, you'll start seeing Instagram Lives from the Dan K Show any night that there is postseason games. There will be postseason conversation with Dan K or Lucas Jones live on Instagram. When Dan K's on the mic, it's almost hockey night. We will see you all in Utica, New York.